Hi, everyone. My name is Sapna Sakya. I'm the Talent Development and Special Projects Manager at CAAM. I'm so happy to be here with you today for a very special preview screening of two shorts from our Hindsight series, which CAAM is honored to be presenting with our collaborators, Firelight Media and the Real South series on PBS. Firelight Media and Real South are also our co-presenters for this program. They're instrumental in helping CAAM serve and support diverse communities. So thank you, Firelight and Real South. Programs like CAAMFest 2021 and CAAM's other year-round programs are made possible by our community of supporters around the world. Help us bring compelling and diverse Asian American stories to light. Donate or join as a CAAM member at CAAM's secure website, CAAM or caamedia.org. For a limited time, new members can save 15% on our friend and supporter memberships using the promo code Celebrate Stories. You just watched UDAAN by director Amman Abbasi and We Stay in the House by director Kiyoko McCrae. To host this Q&A, please join me in welcoming our moderator, manager of Firelight Media's artist programs, Chloe Walters-Wallace. Welcome, Chloe, and take it away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so excited to be at CAAMFest 2021 and to be here moderating this conversation for our Hindsight series. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to filmmakers Amman Abbasi and Kiyoko McCrae and their protagonists, Tiffany Vega Gibson and Benin Khan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to start off with Kiyoko and Amman. I'd love to hear about how you came to the films, why you chose these films in particular, what you felt was important to share, and talk to us about your artistic process. What did that look like as you went through?
I can start. I mean, it's interesting because I think I had a conversation with Sapna last summer with some of the CAAM grantees, and I just remember being so frustrated, not in the conversation, but just in general about parenting and knowing that we were going into the fall and the schools were not going to really be opened, you know, and just knowing that as a parent, but feeling like nothing was happening to really support parents. And I remember saying that to folks in that conversation, and then you know, the opportunity came to make this film. And I was like, this is the only thing I can make a film about is what I'm living through right now, which is this daily, the craziness, the struggle of being a parent. Just, you know, feeling like there really wasn't very much attention given to what our struggles were, daily struggles. And just like even the mundaneness of it and, you know, having to put our careers aside, all these things. So it was just a very natural for me. It was like, a no-brainer. I was like, oh, I'm going to make a film. It's going to be about this. And, you know, I think I also always wanted it to be an ensemble piece where we felt like we were a fly in the wall in these different homes and playing with shooting from outside and seeing through windows, you know, what is the private struggle that is happening for these mothers.
Kiyoko, before we move on to Amman, can you talk about what you discovered about this ensemble direct, if you artistically, otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make a short film and to be following all these different people. But I felt very strongly there was something important about that. And I think there's like a collective voice, but also, you know, everybody is also having their own struggle. And so I think it highlights that. And, you know, something I think Tiffany and I and other mothers noticed when we watched it was like, wow, you know, you see the stress on our face and it's like everybody is expressing it slightly differently, but it's just like, yeah, seeing that reflected back was so powerful. And just even now it feels like a different time, but like to be back in that space when you're really struggling and but also trying to find the joy in the everyday moments. I think there was some strength in having a kind of an ensemble piece rather than just following Tiffany or just following me. I like to think that.
And Amman, what about you? You use a lot of different footage. You have a different artistic approach. So tell us again, Why was it important to tell this story and how you approached it?
Yeah, so Benin is my amazing younger cousin. And when thinking about her first year of college, Benin is such a bright star, and she was in Karachi at the time coming to Paragould. And I know I lived in Paragould for some time too, and I felt as though we had a shared experience in that regard of, living in a space and having a cultural identity. And so Benin is a very articulate, very, very unique voice. And so she and I were starting to talk about documenting that first chapter of college. So we set out to just really kind of be a fly on the wall, cinema verite style, and just see what life is like for the days that lead up with the family, as well as then the sort of acclimation when coming to Paragould. So that was really the reason why it was important. And then in terms of the process and my artistic choices in it, I feel as though I like to uh, be very focused on the subject and the character and try to remain pure from that perspective and allow myself to experiment to lock in that. So I don't really try to overly lock in what I believe the story to be, and let that sort of to continually evolve as we film, as I look at the footage, and so our film really changed course in the matter of filming because certain things happened, and therefore we allowed that to sort of blossom on the screen. And yeah, I enjoy the process of mixing elements of mixed media or influences of older cinema, and allowed those sort of places to um, help elicit emotion.
Thank you so much. Um, Benin, I hope you're feeling the love from your cousin and the rest of us. Um, I'll be turning to you and Tiffany, but you could start. Could you tell me a little bit about what it was like to be the protagonist of a documentary film? It can be a really weird experience, but also this kind of space as your life is unfolding, because it only really focuses on this kind of beginning of your journey. So I'd love to hear what that's like for you.
Yes, first of all, I'm so grateful that I was given this opportunity. I was so beyond excited when I first found out that I was going to be the main character of this movie. It was really, it made me nervous, to be honest. Yes, I was very nervous, but it was good because it was this new chapter in my life that was beginning. So I was excited to document that and to just be able to look back and see how it was for me, because I know when I first started, it was very difficult. I was very nervous, but I've already gained a lot. Like I'm so much more responsible now. I'm more independent. So yeah, I've learned a lot, definitely.
So I'll ask this to both you and Iman before I move on to you, Tiffany. We'll be there in a second. What do you both feel like you discovered in this process? Whether that has to do with themes that have come up or experiences that you both are seeing, or is it reflecting the experiences of your family because you kind of delve into this process of migration over time, right? So I'm fascinated to know a little bit more about that.
For me, it was very eye-opening because Benin and I's objective was very much this hopeful, bright place of her next chapter. And that is still the case. Along the way, we, I think, encountered the realities of what immigration looks like. And that's can be unfortunate, and that also is a reality. And I think we as a family were I guess rudely awoken to that fact. And I think in the film we address it in a way that feels honest, where these are the genuine struggles that not everyone has to face. And so an individual like Benin, she's having to not only manage schoolwork, but the interpersonal dynamic that may come with such things as migration and what that truly looks like. But it continued to, for me at least, confirm just how resilient and hopeful Benin is as an individual. So that was not surprising whatsoever.
Do you want to speak to that, Benin?
Yes, I definitely agree with Amman. It's been a very tough journey, but it's been hopeful too. It's not just tough. It's been hard to kind of balance both family and university and just my work, and it's very hard. But you eventually will find the balance. That's what I've learned. Even though it's been a couple months now, but it's still hard for me. But yes, I'm definitely learning every day and evolving and becoming a better person.
Fantastic. I have one more question for you about that evolution, but we'll come back to you after Tiffany. Tiffany, hello.
Hi.
I wanted to ask and what it was like being a part of this ensemble piece. You are such a strong voice. Everyone is a strong voice in the piece, but you in particular, we begin this process with you. And I'd love to know what that was like, and as well, what you felt was important about participating in this film that the conversation is lacking out in the socio-political world. Like, what does this film contribute for you, and the ways that you contribute to it as well?
Yes, I think it was interesting because I kind of went viral before this film. I was one of the first people in the state of Louisiana, or probably really in the country, to get sick with COVID, and the way that I did. Because what wasn't in the film was that I was actually turned away 4 times before. I was like hours away from being put on a ventilator before the hospitals actually took me in, because they kept turning me away because they said I was young and that I would just ride it out. Clearly I didn't do that, but I needed some serious intervention. And so, it was interesting because I started documenting my experience with COVID because I wanted people to see that this was really serious, and that it wasn't just because at the time it was just saying that old folks can get it, and that's it. And also me being Latina, that it was also said that Latinos couldn't get it. And so I was really trying to get it out, like, no, like, we can get this. It's very serious. You need to protect yourself. So that was number one of where I already kind of was a bit in the spotlight about that. But what I wasn't really in the spotlight was my struggle with unemployment and trying to find work, as well as being a parent while doing all of that. And I think what was so important was, especially mothers of color, we weren't really seeing what we were going through. I think one thing that was common, a theme, I believe, was the loudness, where you just heard how loud our houses are all the time. It's quiet here because my son is napping. That's the only reason why. So I thought that was really important to show that what mothers of color were going through, because women of color were being laid off at much higher rates than white women. We were losing our jobs at much higher rates. And so I felt it was really important to show what was happening with mothers of color who were working and no longer working. Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting to see the other folks in the film, the other mothers, and seeing that, oh, we're kind of all going through similar things, but we're so insulated because we're literally quarantined. and isolated from one another, that we think we're alone in this, but everyone's going through it and no one's talking about it, as Kiyoko mentioned before, the reason why creating the film.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredibly important and really, really wonderful. I want to ask, you've got a couple of elements within that larger conversation. Is there a conversation you see start to happen based on what happened in this film? And Kiyoko, please chime in after that.
I think having, as Kiyoko mentioned, more support from mothers of color, in particular, and parents really, but I really think that there needs to be more support for parents, and especially now during the pandemic, especially now when so many people have lost work and have less income. And I think that support is specifically in the workplace, because I have seen it time and time again throughout this year that employers are treating parents like it's almost like feeling like parents are not working as hard as their other, like sort of like feeling, what's the word I'm looking for, Kiyoko?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is this narrative, right, especially when it comes to mothers, that we're these super women and we can do everything. And if we continue to believe that narrative, then we don't have to change the system, right? Because we're picking up the slack, we're doing all these things. And I think that was that kind of the narrative that I really wanted to address head on, because yes, we do these things out of necessity to care for our children, but we shouldn't be expected to do all this. And somebody has to pay for it. If your kids are not in school, we're paying for it with our own labor, right? And where's the institutional responsibility? And I think those conversations are starting to happen, but I think some employers are starting to be more flexible and looking at the necessity for that, but it's taken a really long time. And the crisis upon crisis has made it really hard for those things to be front and center, in this last year, as we all know.
We're expected to work as if we don't have children. Right. And I think this pandemic, because you're literally inside of our homes, where there are children present, and I think it really forced people to recognize that their employees are also parents, and that we need to treat people as human beings.
Right.
And I think that's ultimately what I hope would come from this film.
Wonderful. So I have one last question for Amman and Benin as well. I'd love to know what you'd like to come from this film. And Benin, how are things now that you're further on in your semester, further on in Paragould? How are you settling in?
I think the first couple of weeks were definitely really difficult for me, and being away from family just made it more harder. And especially when you're like stressed with so much work and you just need your mom sometimes. So that was really difficult for me. But I feel like now I've evolved a lot. I talk to my mom every day, and I have this nice balance of my work and being with family and talking to family, and that's definitely a huge thing that I've gained, and I'm really grateful for that, because I feel like if this thing weren't to happen, I wouldn't really be the person that I am today. And I wouldn't be the independent Benin that I am right now, which I'm so grateful for. So yeah, even though we all go through struggles, it just makes you who you are. It changes you into a better person. And I'm really grateful for that.
Wonderful. And Amman, what would you like to see this film do? Any conversations you want to start?
Yeah, Benin is such a wonderful, layered human being, and I want people to be able to see truly what young individuals who may not who may come here for education, what that really entails and why, because there's a lot of opportunity here, but there's also a lot of problems in America. And so we want to be able to equally show that and really gain that perspective from the direct way in. And I think Benin's perspective is very direct. And so I think that opens up that conversation of opportunity, but then also the challenge too. And so we're excited to slowly, put those conversations out there.
Fantastic. Sadly, we are out of time, but thank you, Amman, Benin, Tiffany, Kiyoko, for joining us, for joining CAAMFest 2021. Before we go, where can people follow you to see more about the films and about your trajectories?
Oh my gosh. I don't have a website for this film yet, but I have my own website, kiyokomccrae.com, I guess.
I don't have a good plug either, but I'm gonna plug my TikTok because I like I've been using TikTok a lot. But yeah, hopefully in the near future we'll have more in the festivals to be playing UDAAN for sure.
Yeah. And I will say, I want to just give a shout out to Tiffany because she really was an inspiration for this film, and all of the documenting she did during COVID, was totally the inspiration for the film. So follow Tiffany.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. This was a lovely conversation. Everyone, enjoy CAAMFest 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.